Your mindset influences your financial decisions, which then directly impact your ability to achieve your goals and dreams.
Without financial discipline, without a plan, people are either living paycheck to paycheck or they're living, like upper middle class or like the Rockefellers. It just depends upon what your mindset is.
Hey everybody, I'm super excited for this episode. Today we are going to be breaking down what it means to financially provide for your dreams. And I'm so excited because I'm joined by two incredible individuals today, Kevin Medina and James Wright. How are you both doing today?
Good.
Great.
Yeah, great. Thank you to having us here.
Absolutely.
Of course, it's always a pleasure to speak with you both. But I'm super excited about this topic, so let's go ahead and jump into it. So, my first question for you guys has to do with a money mindset. How would you define a money mindset, and why do you believe it's important for creating your dreams?
Yeah, good question. Really, a money mindset is your belief system and your attitude towards money. It's how you view it, how you use it, how you relate to it. Kayla, essentially it's important because your mindset influences your financial decisions, which then directly impact your ability to achieve your goals and dreams. So if you believe money is a tool to create opportunities rather than something to fear or to hoard and not do anything with, you're more likely to use it strategically to grow and you'll achieve your goals. James?
Very, very well stated. I agree with you 100%. And so the money mindset is, again, your opinion or habits that you had over the years from your parents. And I look at it, think of it versus middle America versus the David Rockefellers. They always talk about money and how to invest, how to create money passively. It's they figured out the game. They figured out the game. They figured out how to make business run for them and have tax-free retirement and other things. And so with these series of habits, you have the ability to invest and invest in such a way it becomes fun, right? Once you learn these things, it becomes enjoyable. And it's really important in terms of building your dream because without financial discipline, without a plan, and without having those discussions, people are either living paycheck to paycheck or they're living, like upper middle class or like the Rockefellers. It just depends upon what your mindset is.
And a lot of that mindset is taught when you're either home with your parents or not, right? So are you being taught this at home? Are you being taught about a money mindset in school? Oftentimes we're not being taught in school, and money's the least amount of thing talked about. It's usually the elephant in the room, so to speak. At least for some families, they don't talk to their kids about money at all. Others have more of a education and a blessing to learn from their family members.
Oh, 100%. Environment is everything. Associations are everything. So show me your five friends, and I'm going to show you whether or not you have the right financial mindset. Are you listening to Bloomberg? Are you listening to these different financial podcasts? Are you making yourself open to learn these new things? And so if you are, and you're being taught that because only 1 in 4 people in high school are being taught anything about financial literacy. And so in America today, that's almost taboo. Whereas in the wealthy families, it's a daily discussion. And so by having that, they're able to come up with creative ideas and grow financially and achieve their dreams.
Yeah, I love that so much. You guys hit so many massive topics in that short span of time, and I love it. Being strategic with your money and how that builds your mindset, as well as your environment and where you're coming from and what you're talking about. And so I feel like those are all like super powerful topics, and they definitely all go into having that money mindset and your discipline. Your discipline is huge when it comes to your money, and I think it's definitely something that needs to be talked about more. And it definitely comes down to like that power of financial literacy. But how would you say that somebody could shift from maybe not coming from a good environment, having that scarcity mindset into a mindset of abundance?
Mm. Yeah, that's a big one. I mean, for a lot of people, if they grew up with no money, then they're might have taught money is evil, money is There's a lack of money out there. It's hard to get. And so shifting to an abundance mindset starts with gratitude of what you already have, and then focusing on opportunities rather than limitations, or focusing on the obstacles. Instead of thinking, I can't afford this, this isn't going to be possible, you got to start asking yourself different questions like, how can I afford this? What do I need to learn to do so I can strategize to be able to have this? Surround yourself with mentors, surround yourself with people who inspire growth and abundance. Educate yourself about how money works, because the sooner you learn how to do that, the sooner you can get to your destination that you want to get to, or on your way to your path. And because once you understand how money works, that creates an understanding, and that creates confidence, and that creates actual results, which could ease the stress of your everyday life. So it's also about adopting the belief that money is infinite, money is energy. So success for others, doesn't mean less success for you. James?
Oh, I agree with you. I mean, you just hit on every topic that I was going to discuss, 100%. So when I think of scarcity, what do you think of? You know, fear, fear, right?
Yeah.
Scarcity comes from a place of fear. And why are people afraid? Well, they're afraid because they're afraid of things that they don't know about. And so we were talking about earlier on that financial literacy, it's something that's not taught in 75% of the high schools out there. So what do you have to do? You got to have the mindset, number one, that, okay, I don't know something about this. So what habits do I have to create to become knowledgeable and add value in everything that I do? And so what do? Number one, you identify that you have an issue. I have a scarcity mindset. Number two, who do I have to become to have an abundant lifestyle? So that becomes habitual. So you develop these habits, you define goals, and what do I have to do to get there? Once you start stacking these habits and you create an action plan to make that happen, you automatically become abundant. When I say automatically, it just is a byproduct of the value that you provide in the process of your transformation, whether it's your clients or whatever it is that you do. So it's an issue of confidence. It's an issue of growth. It's an issue of energy. And again, there's a book called The 7 Decisions by Andy Andrews. We are the culmination of the decisions that we make through our life. And once we come to that realization, and once we say, okay, we can control our future, we have the ability to learn, we have the ability to be vulnerable and learn from other people and be coached by other people so that we can achieve the lifestyle that we want.
Yeah, absolutely. I always see this one quote popping up, and there's like some people always think about how I can't do something, and then the other side of the picture is how do I make it happen? So definitely those two different sides of the coin there. And I feel like you guys both kind of hit on that, as well as adding in the piece of financial literacy being so important, which does take me into my next question of what do you believe is the role that financial literacy plays into bringing your dreams into fruition?
Oh, it's everything. Finances surround every aspect of our life, and it's a huge important thing to have your finances together to be able to then be able to help yourself become independent, and then be able to afford things and able to help others. Financial literacy is the bridge between where you are and where you want to be. So it empowers you to make informed decisions about earning money, saving money, growing your money, protecting your money, whether it's knowing how to structure your savings and investments, or it's to reduce your taxes and trying to get your tax bracket as low as possible, or manage your debt, and consolidate debt, and being able to understand compound interest. Being financially literate turns dreams into actionable goals. So I would argue it's one of the most important things, if not the most important thing, for people to really understand if they want to make an impact for themselves and their others. It's not enough to dream. You need to have a plan, and financial literacy helps you create that plan.
Kevin, I would agree with you 100%. Financial literacy, in and of itself, when you think about it, financial literacy requires a plan. So, what is your plan? And you set goals. You have to know how to invest, because what did Warren Buffett once say? That if you don't figure out how to earn money in your sleep, you'll be working for the rest of your life. And part of that is investing, learning about investing. Part of that is about budgeting and figuring out, okay, where are we at? Where are we at? Where we want to go? Budgeting is a critical part of that, because if you don't know where your money's going, you have to tell your money what to do, not the other way around. If your money's telling you what to do, you're in trouble. This is where you find yourself in massive credit card debt and things like that. So you got to tell your money what to do. And you need to have an emergency fund as part of that plan. And in addition to what you were saying, very well spoken, by the way, Kevin. I thank you for that. It was really impressive. You want to make sure to minimize taxes, but how do you go about doing that? How do you protect your assets against lawsuits in the long arm of the Internal Revenue Service? There are trusts out there. There are other vehicles out there like S corporations or other structures that can protect you against taxes, but also protect you against being sued. So it's really important. Again, it's part of the game. Once you figure it out, the game, it becomes fun, and that's where things grow, and that's where while you may have a dream now, that dream's going to change as you transform your habits and you grow. And so it's really critical, not only in funding your dream, but also how are you impacting other people and the value that you're bringing to the table.
So true. I mean, the interest that we are paying on credit card debt as a society is at $1.2 trillion.
Right.
And so when we see the average American household, James, have $9,000 in credit card debt, and they're struggling because they're paying interest rates at 24%, 25% on those interest credit card debt. That's where financial literacy plays in a very important role. You have to understand how to get yourself in what is a real bad situation where you could be swallowed by debt and compound interest that's working against you. Or you can have an idea of, how do I understand the game of money? How do I understand compound interest? How do I make that work for me? Because I can't, you can't, nobody can work 24 hours a day. So you have to find a way to make your money work when you're not sleeping. So then you can have that compound and making you money, to be able to have that financial literacy and understand what you need to do to budget, right? To balance a checkbook, so to say. They don't do that much these days, right? But to budget, and then to have an understanding of taxes, what accounts play different roles with taxes, how to mitigate it, how to do strategic planning for corporations, LLCs, liabilities maybe you want to trust. And so this all, risk management at that point. Then we talk about, what do we do in our financial portfolio? We have savings, we have investments, high yield savings accounts, we got life insurance, we got long-term care, we got a whole portfolio. And that financial literacy, that's a game of knowledge, and that takes understanding and mentors. And so financial literacy, actually, it's what people really need right now. It's lacking in America. We don't have that. The country is 37 trillion dollars in debt.
Yeah, 37 trillion in debt.
And growing. And so
Right.
if we have that much debt as a country, and we have this much debt as a society per household, what financial literacy, what financial education are we lacking, so we can course correct, so we could then turn our dreams, not only as a household, but maybe as a country as well, into reality?
No, I could agree with you more, Kevin, and that's really critical. First of all, you have to be open to receiving, and again, we have a saying: your ego isn't your amigo. Once you humble yourself and you're willing to learn and course correct, as you indicate, vast majority of the people don't even have $450 in their savings account for emergencies. Okay, that's a problem. We have an emergency. We have a credit emergency in this country. This can be, if we sit down and we look at and we establish a plan and develop metrics or KPIs, and sit down with the family as we would a business and have these meetings. We have quarterly meetings for corporations, directors meetings. Well, have a monthly meeting with your family. This is how we're performing. This is where we're at budget wise, because that way you'll be able to map out and strategize. Number one, course correct. Two, what can we improve upon? And then what other things can we do to generate passive income and protect our family? 70% of us out there at one point in time in our life are going to be subject to some kind of debilitating disease. Well, Do you have long-term care to protect against that? This is all part of planning. This is all part of financial literacy. Um, what if someone passes away? Are we planning for that? Are we planning for natural disasters? What are we doing? This is all part of a financial literacy plan, and this is something that if we reach out to professionals and take their guidance, and then make sure that you're invested and learn, you'll get there. I think America will get there, but they have to take ownership of where they're at.
Yeah, absolutely. Man, so many nuggets for everyone listening. I hope that you're hearing this because there are so many big things that come into financial literacy, but becoming financial literate is such a golden ticket in so many ways. And I know for me too, like definitely wasn't money was not talked about very often inside the household. Like it was kind of like you knew it was something that was there. My parents dealt with it and you didn't need to know. And then they assumed I was learning in school, which I was not, unfortunately. But when I finally became and got that financial literacy, not only did it open up my eyes so much to all of the tools at my disposal, but also the ability and possibility of creating my dreams into reality because I have that knowledge now to move forwards and do so much better than what I was doing before. And it's definitely, you have to take that first step to learn the things that you don't know because we don't know what we don't know. But you can choose to do better and you can choose to learn. And I think that's a powerful thing. And it's definitely something that I do agree with, like the states need so desperately is more people like both of you going out and teaching that financial literacy. And so I'm definitely very grateful as well that I have people like you that I can look up to and ask questions about. So I'm very grateful for you both. But how do you guys balance investing into your dreams and maintaining financial stability?
Well, yeah, Kayla, that's a tough one, but it's all about prioritization and discipline. To get to where you want to be, it's going to require hard work. I'm not going to lie to you. But you got to focus on creating a clear budget that separates what's essential to you and then what can you use for discretionary spending. When you're pursuing big dreams and big goals, you can't think it's going to be um, all balanced, right? Sometimes there's not going to be balance and it's going to be unbalanced. And so you just try to course correct and stay the course and stay in the middle and build an emergency fund, contribute to your long-term savings. Stability doesn't mean playing it safe. It means managing your risk effectively and making sure you can create as much revenue or income you can make from your job or from your business, and also from, how many Americans have a side business also when they get home from work, an Etsy account, or how many people have a rental property, right? Or something that they're doing to create a second stream of income. So it's all about maximizing what you're doing in the present moment every day. You try to be as present as you can, and there's not going to be a balance. But if you invest in your dreams strategically, leverage your resources where they have the most impact, while protecting your financial foundation.
Spot on, Kevin. I couldn't have said it better myself. Next question. Just kidding. Very well stated. I agree with you 100%. And so I think, like anything else, like you said, you have to strategically plan, and you have to know one thing, that there's always going to be challenges when you're opening. I mean, when you're starting a new venture, I don't care what it is, right? And so you have to plan for those things, and just know that you have to have an emergency fund. Maybe if you're starting a new business, maybe you have a year's worth of emergency fund or more, right? But what are those things that you can cut back on in terms of, say, for example, I want to be a presenter in financial literacy. So how do I become a better financial presenter? Well, maybe I want to go to these seminars. So maybe I'm not going out to dinner. Maybe I'm not going out with my friends. Maybe I'm not spending money over at Starbucks every day, right? I'm pulling those things in so I can utilize those funds that really are a liability, right? They're not an asset. They're not going to generate income for me. And I'm going to invest it in something that will grow with me. In other words, I will invest in myself, because the best investment that anyone can ever make in their life is an investment in themselves. And that will pay off in the long term. So you balance that from a budget standpoint, but you make sure that you invest in yourself and try to establish obviously different income streams. Like you said, you're working. Maybe if you want to start a business, you do that while you're working. So you have some type of income coming in and you build it up over time. Okay. That's what a lot of people do. So you have that income stream coming in. And then once you start seeing the business grow, then maybe you say, okay, well, maybe I'm not going to work at this anymore. This thing is going to grow. And again, it's all about being strategic. It's all about budgeting. It's all about also risk management. People don't understand that things can happen in the business that can cost you money. So you have to protect yourself on the other side as well. But again, like anything else, you must have a plan in place. And, you have to figure out what you're willing to sacrifice. You need to stretch your vision a little bit, make actionable goals. And then a budget is a good way to evaluate those goals and see how you're performing. Adjust those goals, modify and adjust, and then just get after it. So,
Oh, James, you touched on like creating something after work. What are you doing in that time after you're home from after 5 p.m. or 6 p.m. after work before you go to bed, right? There's a couple hours there, 4 hours at night, maybe 5 hours if you could stretch it, or six. But
okay.
what can you fit in a couple hours to learn a new skill set? Can you fit in a couple hours to brush up on your knowledge? And these are the things that are going to help you. But you have to give up something of who you were and what you're doing in your current routine to then start this new routine of learning, starting a business, investing, because the same person you were is not going to get you to where you're going to want to be.
Right. Ultimately, you're going to have a transformation. And any transformation that you go through is going to be uncomfortable. You are on the right path. If you're feeling uncomfortable and nervous, you're on the right path to growth and you're the right path in terms of building your business. If you're feeling comfortable, you're not on the right path. And so I think that that's a good barometer, if you will, to determine if you're going the right direction or not. But I couldn't agree with you more.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that a lot. I like how you both touched on also the small sacrifices that you have to make. Like at a certain point in time, we have to sit down, we have to sacrifice that time to put a plan together. But also, if we're maybe for whatever reason it may be, we're not able to do something extra, well, where can we cut back in places so that we're saving something to have that emergency fund? Like there's so many different options, but it all comes back down to how much am I putting into this? Like, how much thought am I putting into this? Like, where can I find a way to learn something, learn to do better? Where can I grow? Where can I make a couple of sacrifices, or where can I put a plan in place? And it definitely all comes back to what y'all were saying as well with that financial literacy. But how would you say someone could shift their mindset from seeing money as an obstacle to a tool?
Well, dreamers need to realize that money itself isn't good or bad. It's neutral. It's how we use it that makes the difference. Money is a tool. It doesn't have an emotion. You shouldn't have something already ideas of it. And that's what happens, unfortunately, from our parents, our subconscious, or from our friends, or our neighborhood. Really where you grow up in your first, couple of years really has a huge importance on how you see things, how you relate to money. Shifting from the mindset from money is hard to come by to money is a resource and I can create money and I can control it changes everything. Money I have a lack of money and I don't know how to create it. Or money is a tool, money is a resource, money is great, money is I can control it, budget it, and it's going to help me, help my friends, help my family. Recognize that money is just a tool to create options and to create opportunities. And it's a resource that grows when managed correctly. There's even sayings that money is the root of all evil, but I would argue that a lack of money causes a lot of evil. If you could see when you're stressed about money, when you have a lack of money, a human is capable of doing many things, and it's not them, it's because of the stress that they're coming from, feeling a lack of, and they steal, they cheat, they borrow, all these different things. But because of basically realizing that, they have a lack of a skill set somewhere, and probably it's from their mindset. And a lot of this can be changed through hanging out or getting to know or being around other mentors, and really just being in proximity with people that
Amen.
are challenging you to expand your thinking or making more money than you are, when you start realizing that some people around you are used to seeing others make 3,000 a month, 7,000 a month, but there's people out there making 10, 15, 20,000 a month, 30,000, 40, 50,000 dollars a month. So you start realizing that money is really not just a lack of it. There's just something I'm not understanding. There's some skill set I don't have, some education I don't have. And if I gather this and I learn money and I read really well and I surround myself with mentors, I'm going to have that energy and be able to attract and manage money correctly.
100%, Kevin. 100%. You got to have that mindset. You got to have a value, because money is really a function of what value you provide to people. Now, how does that value come about? It comes about by skill set. But here's the thing: a lot of people don't stretch their vision because they're complacent, they're comfortable where they're at, and they say, "Well, there's no way I could get there." Well, yes, you can. Again, proximity is critical. If you're around people, show me 5 of your friends, and I'll show you how successful you are. You always have to associate up. One of the things that in the finance world, particularly accounting, I have seen massive changes, which means that I have to constantly re-educate myself. And I want to be around the experts who know that, right? Because that means I'm going to learn and I can be of better value to my clients. It can be of better value to other people. See, we're in the industry of helping other people. So when you think about these things, mind shifts in terms of going from, oh, well, money is short, or I can't, it's really not it is a tool, and it's not lacking. It's a matter of abundance. And a lot of it is that what we tell ourselves every day. If you think about it, when you watch TV every single day, what are the commercials telling us? That we're not worthy, okay, because we don't have a certain perfume. What do they tell you in school? If you get an F, you fail, right? Well, there is no such thing as failure. It's first attempt at learning. I would say fail forward, because there has not been a successful entrepreneur out there who hasn't failed many times and gone through and monitored and adjusted and then really made it big. So money is a tool. It's a tool. That's all it is. And so it can be utilized. The more abundant mindset that you have, and the more affirmations that you have. In other words, you tell yourself, I money comes to me easily. I provide value. I am of great service to people. Once you start telling that and create habits around that, you're going to find that you're going to create value, and then you can utilize that money to be a blessing to other people, right? And so when you do something, it's just not about the money, but it's about a vision that you have. When you're chasing your dream and you're chasing a vision to help other people and impact people's lives and provide solutions to a problem, money is a tool that can help people, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. Yeah, I feel like both of you, like, that was so well said. Like, I don't have anything I can add to that. But I liked it a lot, and I like how you were talking about how it spreads your vision. Because the next question I want to ask you is, how do you prepare or approach financial setbacks when you have unexpected expenses coming and you're trying to stretch towards that larger vision?
Wow, I think financial setbacks are inevitable, and I see them as a temporary obstacle or a hurdle or a roadblock. And financial setbacks are so common. If I'm in a room and I say, "Hey, everyone here, raise your hand if you've ever been in a financial setback before," and everybody's hand's going to be going up. The key is to stay calm, reassess the plan, take action, and be able to have a mentorship of people that you can consult. Keep an eye on your emergency fund for these situations, and remind myself that every setback teaches a lesson. It's about adjusting the approach, without losing sight of the ultimate vision. What is the ultimate vision? And there's going to be bumps and there's going to be setbacks all along the way. There's going to be doubts. There's going to be confusion and insecurities, and that's just part of show business. That's just part of the game. And being flexible and persistent is critical. You got to have that ambition. It's in your blood.
I agree with you wholeheartedly, Kevin. And again, I don't know how I had up on that. That was impressive, but I agree with you. And the reality is that it's really a perception of how you look at these things, right? Um, a setback is an opportunity to learn. Okay, so it's an opportunity. There's a saying there are no problems. They're just opportunities for solutions. And so you really have to sit down. And again, it's perception and how we look at these things. Um, if you have planned correctly with respect to financial literacy and you have a setback, say, for example, we've been having the fires here in Southern California, people have been displaced. Some of these people will plan correctly. They have an emergency fund. They can be out for 2, 3, 4 months without having to worry about it. Okay. They just throw money at it because money, again, is a tool. But if you haven't planned, uh, then it becomes a hardship, right? Whatever that setback may be. And it's inevitable that when you're starting businesses, you're going to have a lot of financial setbacks, but these are all opportunities to learn. And then the question becomes, as you're going through that process, is okay, well, what is it that I can learn from this? And then how can I implement what course corrections can I make to implement in my plan and make sure that I provide additional value because of what I learned from this. So again, I think it's a mindset, and I think when you have a plan in place, setbacks will happen. But I also think setbacks are something that the universe is testing whether or not you want it bad enough. You know, are you passionate about what you're doing? Are you going to be able to persevere? And do you have the patience and the intestinal fortitude to go through this? And so that's what entrepreneurship is about, right? I mean, do you have that intestinal fortitude to go through these things? And if you look at it, I mean, Michael Jordan missed what? How many thousands of shots? He was cut from his high school basketball team, but he was passionate, he was persistent, and he was almost delusional in terms of his belief in himself. And that's what you have to be when you're trying to pursue your dream.
Absolutely. I love that a lot. Definitely well said. You guys have touched on so many huge topics, and so I'm so excited about this. Like, I feel like I'm gaining so much knowledge just listening to you both speak. But what has been the most important lesson that you've learned about the connection between money and your dreams?
Well, that the lesson is that money is all around us, and I've seen people struggle with money. I've struggled with money. I've seen family members struggle with money. Everyone has that experience, I guess, unless you're privileged not to. But your dreams, your life, it all surrounds around money. So the sooner you understand what you're lacking and then you can course correct, you're going to start feeling so much better. You're going to start healing and feeling free and really getting to enjoy what life really has to offer. It's really insane how unfree we're going to feel unless we have a good control of our money. And it really is, it's going to have a whole binding on what we can do in life and our limitations of where we eat on a daily, where we drive, where we vacation, where we live. It comes down where we go to school. It's everywhere. And if we don't start young, or if our parents don't give us an education, or if they don't know, and nobody knows, it's just the blind leading the blind at that point, and it's horrible. And we're seeing that everywhere, as you can see in America. Otherwise, if people understood from an early age, just imagine how much further ahead they would be if they had resources or knowledge at age 18, or if their parents knew what their kids should be doing earlier by the time they're earned income at age 10 at their part-time job. By age 30, that child is now a young adult and is so far ahead than anyone that just is now at 30 jumping into learning some new knowledge about finances, right? And some people in their 40s and 50s and 60s prolong it, and they don't even learn it until they're 40, 50, or 60. And then they're like, well, now I'm really in trouble because I haven't saved any money for retirement here. And so, what do they say? Divorce is like the number one cause is financial problems and financial stress. So it affects your mood. It can affect your health. Money is so important that if you don't have a good understanding or good control of it or feel good about it, then it's going to change your whole psyche, your whole psychology, your whole physical self as well. You can get sick from this and just make bad judgment calls, have lack of sleep, push yourself to beyond limits because now you're pushing yourself just to make ends meet. So really, a lot of issues come from stress, and stress, most of the time, a lot of the time, can come from money. And if you don't have a problem that's not money related, that if you have a problem that's you can solve with money, then you don't really have a problem. So let's quickly get to that point. And I know it's you got to walk, you got to crawl, then you got to walk, and then you can run. We were talking about James earlier, how many times you have to fail to learn. I mean, just to be able for us humans to learn how to run, how many times do we have to fall crawling, fall walking, and teach us to run, and then do impossible things that we do now, right? As adults.
I could agree with you more, Kevin. And one of the things I think that we, as a country now, we're kind of in a microwave society. We want something right away. Okay, I don't know about you, but it took me a long time to become a CPA, and because you have undergraduate, then you have your graduate, then you have to go through, take the exam, and you have to serve an internship. And so, one of the things I like to remind people that it takes patience. Patience is so critical in everything you do. Most decisions that we make, we make out of emotion, and that's the worst place to be, because when's the last time we made a good decision from a place of emotion, particularly a financial decision, right? I mean, we had the 2008 meltdown. I personally had friends that during the 2008 meltdown, their stocks tanked, and it's only a paper loss or a paper gain, but the emotion gets a hold of you and you sell it, they end up losing everything. I had money in the market and I lost a lot of money, but I'm like, it's going to come back. It's going to come back. And boy, did it come back. Now, of course, when you're approaching retirement, that's something that you don't want to have a 30-40% loss because you don't have the time to make it up. But the issue is discipline. And the issue is try to, when it comes to learning about money and learning about finances, and look, I mean, if you're thinking about money and the scarcity of money, you'll never realize your dream because that's going to be your mindset. But understand that, look, we are the summation of decisions that we made over our lives. Once we own that, and once we say, okay, I can change that, you have the power to change these things. I don't care if you're 30, 40, 50, 60. It's never too late. The earlier, the better, because the rule of compounding. When you're investing, if you make a mistake early on, okay, that's fine. You've learned your lesson. What can I do to course correct, invest appropriately, like in index funds or other things like that? But maybe I need to surround myself with people who are professionals that are going to stretch my mindset and realize that, you know what, I can make $500,000. You know what, I can add value here. But if you're just chasing the money, you're not chasing a vision. If you're chasing something that's just for you, it has to be something that's bigger than you. I mean, you're a CPA that helps other tax clients out, correct? And you help
Yeah.
them. Exactly. And you help them. If you see something, you're going to make recommendations in terms of trying to protect your clients, trying to help them grow money. That doesn't become about you. It becomes about them, putting their needs first before yours. And so when you have a vision of service, a vision of trying to grow, a vision that includes constant learning, constant changing, because I don't know about you, but I know the more I learn, the more I know I don't know that I need to continuously learn. Environments change. So it's really important, if you want to be financially savvy, to be open to constantly learning and having a vision that's bigger than yourself, having the being in a service mindset of helping people. And if you have that and you have solutions, then I know that whether you're a family, because most families want to provide a legacy for their children. Well, how do you do that? You connect with a financial professional like you, and then you start learning as well. You start reading books like, I don't know, the Financial Pocketbook Knife, or the Laser Fund, or a book about basics of finance, but you surround yourself with people who love to talk about money, who have a very good knowledge of it, and then you grow from there. But make sure that you're humble. Even Grant Cardone had hundreds of millions of dollars, and when 2008 happened, he almost bankrupted himself. Why? Because he wasn't paying attention to everything, all the metrics. He wasn't paying attention. That taught him a great lesson, that you have to always look at your budget, always look at the market conditions, always consult the experts, remain humble, and continuously grow. And so that's one of the things that, in terms of pursuit of your dreams and money, I think that's really important to have that relationship with with your professionals, a relationship with growing, and making sure that you're humble and just be having an attitude of gratitude. Because if you have an attitude of gratitude, I don't care where you're at, you're going to succeed.
Yeah. No, I couldn't agree more. I mean, money is really a multiplier of your efforts and the value you're providing to others. So we
Right.
really need to start everyone, how do I become more valuable to others? How do I make more of a valuable impact? And the more value you provide to society, the more it amplifies your vision if you use it wisely. And dreams without financial planning are just ideas. But when you pair it with clear money strategy, when you pair it with clear tax strategy, they become achievable goals. Success isn't about how much you make, but how effectively you manage how much you grow and grow what you have to create the life you envision. It's not how much you make, it's how much you keep and how you manage that money.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, you look at athletes today, you look at Mike Tyson, he had millions and millions of dollars, but who are his associations, right? If he was around the right people, he wouldn't have lost all his money. But now he's around the right people and he's growing the money.
I mean, there's
So,
tons of examples like that.
right,
Exactly. Most people that go into the NFL or the NBA
right,
make their money and they lose it. Look at Scottie Pippen. Look at Kevin Garnett. And so
exactly,
you have situations where even the people that have money, sometimes, because money is a tool, they think they'll just throw money at the problem, but that also doesn't work, sometimes. So it's also not only that you throw money, you have that tool, but now you have to learn yourself. Like, if you know it yourself and you can teach it to another person, that's how you know you really know it.
exactly. Well said.
Absolutely. Thank you both so much for sharing. You guys hit so many incredible topics just from talking about having a money mindset, how it can shift your perspective on money itself, as well as how you can reach your goals. But we literally talked on topics from shifting from that scarcity mindset, whether it's just a lack of knowledge, a lack of money, or lack of opportunity, to making it into abundance. And so I'm so grateful for you both. And I hope everyone listening has learned that whether you are in your first steps, you're in the middle, you're towards the end, that financial literacy becomes equally important to you all, because it is such a huge, incredible ticket to any type of success, whether it's just living a life of freedom to making any of your dreams come true. So thank you both so much for speaking with me. It was such a pleasure, and thank you for sharing your knowledge with me as well.
Thank you for having us. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you, Kayla. Nice to see you, James. Thanks for being here.